The fourth round of the 2013 FIA GT Series sees us in Bratislava at the Slovakia ring. This new circuit, only opened in 2005, is becoming a firm favourite with drivers, and we should have a great weekend of racing. But before we get on with the action, let's have a look back at the last round in Holland at Zandvoort. At the start of the race, it was Max Buch in the HTP Mercedes that got the best start, pulling into the lead that was taken initially by Laurens Vanthoor, but Buch it was who crossed the line in first place. At the end of lap one, there was a bit of drama. Andreas Simonsen ran wide, Dominic Baumann was on the attack, but behind it was Cesar Campanico who speared into the barriers, crashing his Audi R8 heavily. He was out of the race and out of the car okay, as his teammate Carlos Vieira watched on. It was a problem with the ABS that sent the Audi spearing into the crash barrier and unfortunately into a photographer as well. He managed to escape though with only a broken leg. The red flags came out, the race was brought to a stop, but on the restart nothing could stop Max Buch. There was great squabbling throughout the pack as Simonsen and Baumann continued to go side by side. Wolfgang Reip trying to take advantage but unable to get through. The Nissan was on a charge, Alex Buncombe sweeping past the number 10 McLaren as Mike Parisi ran wide. And then there was a great move from Matthias Stump, finding the inside line and going past Felipe Salaquada. Salaquada then lost out to the Team Brazil BMW as well. Andreas Simonsen then, all on his own, managed to spin at the first corner, knocking him a long way back down the field. And then Ricardo Zonta, with an ambitious move on Salaquada, tapped the Ferrari into a spin. Beached in the gravel, his race was over. At the pit stops, Buch handed over to his teammate Israeli Alan Day, and they came out well in the lead of the chasing Audis. The two Audis were actually getting pretty close and had to be told to calm down a little bit by the pit wall so that they didn't take each other out. Alain Coder was pushing hard to try and pass the Nissan, now in the hands of Alex Buncombe, and finally the BMW's attempts paid off. A great move around the outside, a bit of body rubbing, but the Brazilian was through. The checker flag fell though for Maximilian Buch and Alan Day, who won for the first time this season in FIA GT. Stepping up this season is reigning GT3 champion Maximilian Buch, making his debut in FIA GT Series.
There is no doubt that this young hot rod is going to rattle the cage of the establishment in FIA GT.
Great performance from Buch, third on his debut in Nogaro. Third race of the season here in Zandvoort, the Audi on pole, Buch in second. Lights go green, away we go. It's a good start from Buch. Is he going to take the advantage and get past the Audi? Buch leads.
Buch has made good use of the power of the Mercedes off the line to slot the Mercedes into the lead into turn one.
Maximilian Buch and teammate Alan Day take the win in round 3 of the FIA GT Series. At BMW Team Brazil, hopes are pinned high for this weekend in Slovakia because the BMW should suit this 5.9-kilometre circuit. Caca Bueno and Alain Coder have been the team's strongest pairing this season so far.
The 2012 race here with BMW, the performance was very good, but I think it was a little bit of difference between these years and last year of engine and tires, but I think it's the best track for us.
At Mercedes, it was a very successful weekend in Zandvoort for Alan Day and Maximilian Buch, taking the win in the main race. And whilst a lot of attention's been put on Buch, Alan Day has put his mark on the season as well.
You know, immediately after the win, we think about the next race, we think about the championship. We know Slovakia ring should be fit quite good for the Mercedes. We push as hard as we can, you know. Hope we're going to be there. It's possible. We will give everything, me and Maxi.
Times have been tough and well documented for Sebastien Loeb and Alvaro Parent. But in the second car, things haven't gone much better. But Mike Parisi is very confident this weekend, having won here back in 2011.
We had a very good feeling this morning on Slovakia ring, I think, and we hope that it's a very good track for McLaren. We are quite confident. We have to push because the level is very high in this series, but we have perhaps a card to play this today and this weekend.
WRT are the current teams leaders and driver leaders, Stephane Ortelli and Laurens Vanthoor, topping the standings as we left Zandvoort. But in the number 13 car, it's been a more difficult season for Frank Stippler and Edward Sandstrom after they won the opening round at Nogaro.
The track suits the car quite well, and looks like we had a decent day today. Unfortunately, Frank had some traffic in the last corner in Q2, and that affected his result, and he couldn't do the Super Pole because we were 11th. But in the end, Rust was on pole and Fanto was 4th. So it's like usual for us. We have to fight a little bit, but that's normal. So I'm confident.
Reiter Engineering are fielding 2 Lamborghinis this weekend. Marc Basseng returns to the series alongside Albert von Turnen Taxis, whilst in the sister car Peter Cox is alongside home man Stefan Racina, looking to impress at his local circuit.
To be honest, it is really difficult to say how is it going to be, in a way, because obviously this championship is very tough. And I think also some other brands are now in form, but to be honest, I'm happy to be driving a Lamborghini, and I have a great teammate, great team crew, so I think all ingredients are there. Now just we need some luck, and hopefully we can make it to some nice result.
Unfortunately, there's only one Nissan here this weekend. After Alex Bunkum's big crash at the Spa 24-hour race, the RGN team will just be fielding one machine with Bunkum and Wolfgang Reip at the wheel.
For this weekend, I think we're going to try to do as well as in Spa, podium in category. I think the track will probably be the best track in FIA GT for the car. The first part of the track is very fast, and that's good for us. The infield is going to be a little bit more tricky as there are 2 small hairpins, but I think it's a good package for us.
There's a second AF Corsa Ferrari this weekend as well. Claudio Stanovic and Michele Rugolo will be in the Gentleman's Trophy, whilst as ever in the Pro-Am Cup, Philippe Salaquada will be partners with Fabio Anidi. Salaquada is confident, having won here last season.
Last year we did well, I think, so I have good memories for this circuit, which is almost home place. Our speed is quite okay, but just we're struggling a little bit with the tires because the temperature is very hot, which is not good for us. Our goal is to get in Super Pole and to be somewhere in the front to start the race.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Slovakia ring. We are here just outside of Bratislava for the 4th round of this 2013 FIA GT Series. We've got the qualifying race coming up for you now before the main race comes up later on today. It's going to be very entertaining, there's no doubt about that. Track temperature almost 50 degrees, 24.7 degrees the air temperature. It doesn't feel humid though, John, does it? It's quite a cool heat, if that makes any sense.
Normally in Central Europe at this time of year, it'd be just the sweat would be pouring off you, but what we've got is relatively dry heat. Great for the racetrack, great for the drivers, great for the tyres.
Absolutely. The fans there getting ready to watch this 1-hour race unfold. You can see the grid there prepared. The Laurens Vanthoor and Stephane Ortelli, number 11 WRT Audi, is the car that leads the championship at the moment, but they're going to have a difficult race, I think, because they are starting in 9th place on the grid. Edward Sandstrom and Frank Stippler, 2nd in class. Alan Day and Maximilian Buch, 3rd in the championship. They're starting fairly well up on the grid as well. René Rast there and Nicky Meyer-Melnhof are on pole position for this race. There you can see the grid being cleared, and we'll have a little look at it as we go past. That's the pole car on the left-hand side. René Rast at the wheel. Stefan Racina in that red Lamborghini. He will start 2nd on the grid. The next row, we've got Afanasiev and Caca Bueno. Then the Lamborghini of Dominic Baumann alongside Maximilian Buch, who won last time out. There's our championship leaders on the left-hand side. The Audi number 11 of Stephane Ortelli and Laurens Vanthoor. As we continue down towards the back of the pack, we will see the 2nd Seyfarth Mercedes out there. The Nova driver Audi, they're struggling this weekend. And there is the number 3 HTP Gravity Charouz car, which will be started by Jan Stovicek. They start in the penultimate position on the grid. A very wide circuit here as the grid pulls away. The green flag waved, a new facility here at the Slovakia ring, but it's certainly got a lot of old circuit characteristics almost.
I mean, it's a great racetrack, 5.9 kilometres in length, 14 corners, a mixture of high-speed corners, middle, and then, of course, the obligatory hairpin. but it's the nature and the flow of the circuit. It flows, I feel, pretty easily. A lot of challenges for the drivers, particularly on the exit of turn 2. Great downhill corner. We've seen some drivers get it wrong and run wide. But on the exit of turn 2, then you've got a flyover. And just before that flyover is a tyre bale chicane. And that is there specifically to prevent cars as they come across this crest, which they didn't have that chicane. Danger would be that air would get under the front of the car, and the potential for a car getting airborne was too great.
Here's a look at the grid then. René Rast will start on pole position with Stéphane Racina alongside in the red Lamborghini. Then we've got the first of the HTP Mercedes, Sergei Afanasiev. Best qualifying performance of the season so far for the BMW Team Brazil squad. Caca Bueno will start in 4th place. There's last weekend's winners. The number 1 car of Maximilian Buch and Alan Day. Then the first of the McLarens in 8th and 9th positions, 8th and 10th positions, the 2 McLarens after they qualified 2nd and 3rd, but because of a qualifying infringement, not getting out of the pits at the right time, they were demoted all the way down to the lower reaches of the top 10. Same can be said as well of the Vanthor Ortelli Audi. There's the 2 AF Corsa Ferraris side by side on the 7th row of the grid. Jan Seyfarth and Patrick Kuna. Roman Ibrahim in the BMW alongside Cesar Campanico, who are very frustrated this weekend. Sergio Jimenez down in 19th place after that car has struggled with gearbox and engine problems all weekend. And then Hubert Haupt will start the 2nd Seyfarth Mercedes at the back of the grid. The fans watching on because I think they're about to get an entertaining race. There's plenty of room to make overtakes here. It's 12 metres wide, this circuit, all the way around, and there's a few good overtaking opportunities.
Yes, I mean, into turn 1, for example, is an opportunity, particularly at the start of the race. It is a rolling start. Interestingly, all these corners at the apex, again, have got tyre bales, but for the opening lap in turn 1, that tyre bale will not be in position, just simply because they're concerned about maybe cars having no option but to go up on the inside of the corner. But thereafter, at the end of the first lap, once all the cars pass through, that tyre bale will be then replaced. And certain parts of the racetrack on these opening laps, you always imagine there's the potential for those tyres to go hayward.
On board we go with Alex Buncombe, one of our onboard cameras this weekend. Buncombe will be looking to make progress. He is starting down on the 6th row of the grid in 12th position. As the cars now start to form up, they start to go side by side on the run down towards the final corner. The safety car will pull into the pits and then the race will be underway. This is another of our onboard cameras on board with Alvaro Parent, who qualified 3rd but will start in 8th. Real frustration. We'll touch more on that later on in the race, I imagine, but for now we'll focus on the start of this 1-hour qualifying race, the result of which will give the winner 8 points, but more importantly set the grid for the main race that brings the most amount of points that will take place later on this afternoon.
Well, a lot of jockeying to make sure you do keep your position and not let the pack get too strung out as the cars come through turn 14.
So the red lights are on. When they go green, the race will be underway and round 4 of this FIA GT Series will begin. There's plenty of space for the cars as the lights go out. Away we go. Who's going to get the best getaway? It's so difficult to tell. It's such a wide circuit. They're going 3, 4, 5 abreast even at some points. But René Rast is, I think, who has held the lead on the run down into the first corner. It looks like it might be. Look at all the way around the outside. Has come Alvaro Parent from 8th on the grid. The number 50 AF Corsa Ferrari's gone into the gravel. But how far up the order has Parent managed to get there? Phenomenal attempt from him. He's up into 2nd place. A piece of bodywork flying up high into the air as they now have to form into single file to get through the chicane. But Alvaro Parent has gone from 8th on the grid to 2nd in the race. Phenomenal start from the Portuguese driver.
Everybody tends to take the inside line into turn 1. If you take the long way round, you've got a clear run and nobody runs out on top of you, you get the position. Alvaro Parent used all that single-seater racing experience to go from 8th to 2nd, and what a great start for the McLaren.
Phenomenal stuff, but it's René Rast there in the number 12 Audi who leads the way. Parent 2nd, 3rd is Racina in the Lamborghini, 4th then is Dominic Baumann in the Grasser Racing Lamborghini, and there you can see the bodywork that has come off Maximilian Buch's car, well, by bodywork I mean entire bonnet that's gone flying off, so we'll have to see whether that's affecting his progress at all, as we see the Seyfarth Mercedes putting a little challenge on Alex Buncombe, but no move being made just yet. There you can see it, bonnetless, and that'll affect the aerodynamics a little bit.
Well, it will have an effect on aerodynamics. Whether it's negative or positive, we'll wait to see. Also, whether that'll be a flag to come into the pit, whether it is deemed to be unsafe, I can't imagine why not. As they're diving down the inside bunker, again under challenge, having anything to keep that position.
Jan Seyfarth really getting a little bit racy. Did he make it through? Trying to look in the background there, I don't think he did. But René Rast is starting to pull away now up at the front. Alvaro Parent second. We're expecting to see some good pace from Alvaro, but we'll wait and see whether that transpires. There's a little bit of damage on the front part of the second Charouz Mercedes, as still Seyfarth is battling hard with Alex Buncombe, unable to get past. And the difficulty for Seyfarth will be that the Nissan is very, very good in a straight line as they exit out onto the start, finish straight then. This is all the battle over 12th position. They've got Fabio Anidi right behind as well. As we come down into turn 1, Anidi's actually going to be challenging the Mercedes here. Anidi in the air, of course, a red Ferrari looking to the outside. Try and get the cut back into 2 perhaps, but not quite enough momentum. René Rast, though, crosses the line with a 1.6 second advantage up at the front. Maximilian Buch now putting pressure on his GT3 teammate from last year, Dominic Baumann.
Yes, the gap that's opening up now, first to second place, comfortable for René Rast. He's got the momentum, he's got the clear racetrack. Interestingly, further back, Alex Buncombe, currently in 12th place in the Nissan. Nissan chose to sit out this morning's 20-minute warm-up. They felt they had nothing more they could do or learn. And the one benefit of that is that it allows them just to keep the limited sets of tyres teams have over these 2 races this afternoon, or the morning and afternoon, as fresh as possible.
Through the right-hander now as they come into the difficult infield section. This is the battle over 4th position. It's Dominic Baumann in the Grasser Racing Lamborghini, the bonnetless #1 HDP Mercedes behind. Maximilian Buch at the wheel. And the man who won the Spa 24-hour race just a couple of weeks ago has been handed a DTM test drive as a result. Can he get his nose in there? Not quite. He saw the little opening to try and get past Baumann, but nothing being made of it so far.
No,
Not much progress from, sorry to interrupt you there, but Stifler and Vanthor, 9th and 10th still for them.
No, and again, the caught in the mid-pack, and if you sort of went to the inside into turn 1 on the right-hand side, Vanthor's just set the fastest sector time in sector 1, so he is quick, but of course he's got a field of cars ahead of him. That's going to be very difficult to get through, and all he can hope to do is keep out of trouble, make progress where he can, and hope when they go to this mandatory pit stop that then the pit work from the WRT Audi team can help them get, but he needs to get into the top 6 to give him any chance of being anywhere near maximising the points available in the championship race, which are ones that really do count. Naughty work flying on that other Mercedes, the bars that hold the silver star, one of those is flapping around, but strange that 2 Mercedes, one has lost its bonnet, the other's got other bodywork damage.
Over the crest of the hill and into turn 2 come the 2 Audis, and we've still got this battle going on. Alex Buncombe and Jan Seyfarth still working hard. Here's a little look going into turn 2. That'll be a good move if Hubert Alp can pull it off, and it looks like he has, sliding past Patrick Kuna and up into 16th position now. 17th position, I should say, because Sergio Jimenez has got past Kuna on this lap as well. Through now into the middle section once again. Mike Parisi under pressure from Laurens Vanthor, who's got ahead of Frank Stippler then on that last lap. So Stippler and Vanthor have switched places, possibly with some instruction from the pit wall, as we go on board with the Audi now of Frank Stippler into turn 8. And then into this quick left-hander at 9. One of the 3 good corners on the circuit, or the 3 very good corners on the circuit, I should say. As we come down into the left-hander, a little look up the inside from Vanthor as he tries to find a way past Mike Parisi. Nothing doing just yet. That's the battle over 8th position ultimately.
The big trouble for Laurens Vanthor is that he's got a quick car. We know how quick it is from both qualifying and practice, but he's caught behind another equally quick car, so he's not able to build up his own momentum. He's having to wait for the McLaren to accelerate off a corner.
Going to be right up in there, that red and white machine.
Yeah, but
Afanasieff.
Yeah, but the trouble
is right in there.
Yeah, but he's off the racing line. That's the dirty part of the racetrack. he has to slow down sooner because he's got a more acute corner. So while he gained position on the run down to turn 1, he lost it in the actual entry into the corner, and that's why Alvaro Parent was able to sweep around the outside. There was clear track. All he had to be careful of was people exiting to the corner. There was enough space, there wasn't going to be contact. He's got past.
Laurens Vanthoor has got past Mike Parisi then somewhere on this lap and is now up into 8th position. Frank Stippler will be trying to follow through as well. Parisi knows it, covers the inside line. Parisi was 2nd quickest in qualifying, so you'd expect him to have a little bit more pace. He's going to compromise his run now out onto the back straight. This should be a good opportunity, you'd have thought, for Stippler. We go on board with the German driver as they crest one of the rises, but doesn't quite close in enough on the run down towards turn 14, and there's a bit of a smoky issue for the number 6 car of Aman Ibrahim. The BMW, Team India BMW, is not looking too healthy.
That's the left bank of the V8 BMW engine. That's just coming down from turn 9 to turn 10, and something has gone pretty wrong. Now, whether that's simply a engine failure or a oil failure, sometimes you get hydraulic lines that are leaking oil onto an exhaust system. Whatever it is, it's terminal for that BMW India car right now, and disappointment for Ibrahim. In the meantime, Laurens Vanthoor still up into 8th place, pumping out fastest sector 1 time. He's been doing it consistently since the start, so he's made up effectively 1 or 2 places since this race got underway. We're on the 5th lap.
Safety car deployed here at the Slovakia ring, presumably not because of that dust cloud, but because of the smoking BMW. So the safety car comes out. That'll be a frustration for René Rast. He'd built up a 3.7 second advantage, and that will now be wiped. Alvaro Parent in 2nd position, Stefan Rossina 3rd, Baumann 4th still.
Well, indications that certainly there's been fluids burning, maybe as a consequence of an oil or a hydraulic line, or maybe more serious, mechanical failure. Whatever it is, the extinguishing of the back of the BMW, and that team need to get the car back to the garage at the earliest convenience. Not a lot of time between the end of this qualifying race and the start of the championship race early afternoon here in Slovakia.
So the safety car will neutralise the field until we get Aman Ibrahim's car out of the way. The car which is, I think, just at the bottom of turn 10 as the cars come around here. There's Sergio Jimenez running in 14th place. He's made up a few positions off the start. And there you can see the safety car now pulling out onto the circuit. And he will wait to collect René Rast. There you can see in the background the BMW being towed away. So hopefully we shouldn't have too much of a delay. I think it's just because it's... he would have come out of turn 2, I think, and pulled... Sorry, turn 1 and pulled to the inside. But that, in effect, parked him on the exit of turn 10.
Yeah, it's just in the interest of safety, it's better to get it sorted out once and for all, and because there is still wisps of smoke or whatever it is coming from the back of that car, they want to get it moved to safety, and for the sake of 2 or so laps behind the safety car, let's get the job done and get this race back underway. Remember, pit stop window will open 25 minutes after this race has started, so we're 11 minutes into it, 14 minutes to go before the pit lane opens.
Absolutely. So the safety car deployed here at the Slovakia ring. René Rast continues to lead after this good start. Now watch out for Alvaro Parent. He pulls out very early, but the lights are well off, aren't they? The lights are definitely off by the time he darts out. So I think that's all fine for Parent. I'm interested to see what happens to this Mercedes look as we come down into turn 1. The red and white Mercedes there on the inside line, still in 2nd position, Yep. And there goes the Ferrari bouncing off over the gravel. So where did that number 2 Mercedes lose all the time?
The only possibility then is the run up out of turn 1, down into turn 2. The cars on his left-hand side had more momentum and pace and just shut them down, just literally closed them down.
Again, this is the view from on board with Parent. Sent it to the outside.
Look at the way he really struggled to keep that car on the racing line again. Or actually, he was slightly off it on the entry and picking up a little bit of dirt onto the tyres. But you say the Mercedes actually, in fairness, was up to 2nd place at the point. There's the bonnet of Buch's car going skywards.
He was down to 5th by the time they got to turn 2, so must have all kicked off on the exit of 1.
Whether there was contact between Ignatius and Buch, well, that's what caused the bonnet of Buch's car to go. Something had to happen. Ordinarily, the bonnet on a Mercedes-Benz does not take flight of fancy on its own volition.
Sebastien Loeb on the right, Stephane Ortelli next to him, and sitting down Andreas Zuber. That's the scene in the Sebastien Loeb Racing garage at the moment, as they wait to take over their respective cars. Loeb should be taking over from Alvaro Parent in second position. We've got 10 minutes until the pit stop window opens. You can see damage on the front of the second Mercedes. The Seyfarth Mercedes has managed to get past Alex Buncombe and up into 12th position, and that happened on the lap just before the safety car came out, so fairly recent move that from Jan Seyfarth. Cesar Campanico running down in 19th place. That'll be very disappointing for that Audi squad, who are racing a new Audi this weekend. They didn't have time to rebuild the Audi that crashed at Zandvoort, so they've just got a different one, but they are struggling with it this weekend, there's no doubt about that. Running down in 19th place. Dominic Baumann in 4th position is currently leading the Pro-Am class. Sergei Afanasyev second in Pro-Am in 7th position. Afanasyev and Andreas Simonsen, some people's dark horses really for the win in this race, and it looked like that might be a decent and viable opinion at the start. Anyway, when Afanasyev was up into 2nd place, but couldn't quite keep it all together. 20 cars still running, only the one retirement. There is Aman Ibrahim, the Indian driver, ex-Formula 2 racer, ex-A1GP racer as well. But unfortunately, his race is over far too early. Alain Coder getting ready to take over the Zero car, which is currently in the hands of Caca Bueno. Still haven't made much progress on moving the stricken BMW just yet.
It may need to be lifted onto a flatbed. It may not be able to be towed. Whatever has happened to that car, it's taking some time to get it moved, be it pushed by marshals or lifted on a crane and put in the back of a flatbed truck and brought back to the pits. Safety car still on track, and it says car 6 stopped at turn 10, smoking heavily. Well, that's a bit unsocial, isn't it?
Absolutely. At least he's not indoors, then he'd be in a lot of trouble. Through the Blancpain chicane they come. So who are the big winners? Obviously the big winner, Alvaro Parent. Maximilian Buch has somehow ended up in 5th place, which is good news for him, because he started actually in 6th. So despite a difficult start, he now let's see what happens here. The number 2, there's a little bit of a touch there. The number 2 Mercedes coming through turn 1.
I think he got muscled out by Parent and Rosina as they exit 2 up the hill, and then you got this drop down into turn 2, which is a quick corner.
Look, this is Buch right in front. He got a terrible start. He's getting swamped on either side. We're on board here with Alex Buncombe, who decides to do the Alvaro Parent line.
Doing the right thing, Alex Buncombe. He did absolutely the right thing. But look, you can see the McLaren. Then suddenly, Sebastien, the other car, the Parisi car, just dived in front of Buncombe. Buncombe had to get out of the throttle. That lost him his momentum and the potentially had. There's the bonnet going skywards from Buch's car, and I think that Agnatieff just got muscled out all the way around. Yeah, Nicky, you have a nice afternoon.
Nicky Vermanoff, happy as ever.
It's always nice to see him happy. It's ugly when he's unhappy.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Aman Ibrahim still walking away from his stricken BMW. It feels like he's been doing that for about 5 minutes now as the flatbed is prepared, so hopefully we shouldn't have too many more laps behind the safety car. But René Rast is Nicky Vermanoff's teammate, and he's leading this race at the moment. And this will be frustration for Rast, because he had a 4-second advantage when the safety car came out. That's been eroded. There's Pierre Dieudonné, boss of the WRT squad.
See, all this is going to change teams' strategies. They could have come in after 25 minutes and no later than 35 minutes. So what are they going to do now? We've had 3 laps under the safety car, and Pierre Dieudonné, though, you can see that he's already on the case. So WRT wondering what the best strategy is for the remainder of this race. Michele Rugolo is actually up into the lead of Gentleman Trophy, up into 15th place, despite that off at the first corner. So good stuff from Rugolo. Now Vincent Master, certainly there's something not right. I mean, you can see Ortelli is sort of slowly getting himself ready, earphones to take over that car. from Laurens Vanthoor. Laurens down and currently 8th place. Now, is Audi going to make an early stop, get out of sequence, potentially get Ortelli into it? You know, they're working it out on the hoof. They don't know quite what's going on. This safety car's thrown a real spike into the plans of everybody, but particularly in the case of Audi, who've got control of the race, albeit now with less than a second between the leading Audi and the second place car of Alvaro Perez. What they don't want to happen is to find themselves getting jumped on the restart by a very, very feisty Alvaro Perez.
Yep, absolutely. We saw Alvaro Perez performing strongly here last season. He's already demonstrated his capabilities this weekend. But it's René Rast who leads the way. The Porsche Super Cup champion, the German Carrera Cup champion. All sorts of accolades are befalling René Rast, who's really forming an impressive figure. So we can now hear from René Rast's boss, and that is Vincent Voss. And let's see if we can find out what's going on down there. Emily Groom.
You seem upset. Is there something wrong?
No, I think no. Everything is fine. We just try to understand what's going on. The safety car seems to stay quite long on the track for a small issue, so we don't really understand what they are doing. I don't know. They are repairing a truck now, so yeah, we are waiting. Try to understand.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I think Vincent Voss has summed it up perfectly. They're not quite repairing the truck, but they've got to lift the BMW up, and part of the pickup truck is on grass, the other bit's on the racetrack, so it's on the tilt. And of course, you're now lifting all this up, and I mean, this is, you know, all the work that Audi have done. They've come here with a revised car. They've got, in fact, some of the 2012 spec on that car aerodynamically as well as on the restrictor. They want this race to get back underway, and they want to make as much capital of the performance gains that they've found as soon as possible.
Absolutely, because when René Rast hands over to that man there, Nicky Meyer-Melnoff, he wants René to have built up as big a lead as is possible, really. But having said that, to be fair to Nicky, in Zandvoort, he was matching the pace of Stephane Ortelli and the like. He's really come on leaps and bounds, Nicky.
Yes, and I think, you know, he's matured, and he is comfortable with himself, with his natural speed and ability. He accepts that René Rast and Laurens Vanthoor and even Ortelli in a single out-and-out qualifying lap are going to probably be marginally quicker, but in a race he's doing a really good job, and that's what they want from Nicky. I mean, still got the... What are they doing? The car...
They had it up a minute ago.
I thought they had it up. I mean, was I seeing things? Or have they decided it's... But, well, that sums up the situation. Stephane Ortelli having a gentle moment of contemplation, and Nicky is standing there getting himself... I can see a head of steam coming shortly with Nicky Meyer-Melnoff, because he will feel that pressure. And all the team can do is let René Rast stay out until the last moment and try and rebuild the lead that he had previously built in the 4 racing laps that we had. But, I mean, how long does it take? I've seen light bulbs changed quicker than they're getting this car cleared of the racetrack.
So, through the chicane they weave. Dominic Baumann leading the Pro-Am class. Michele Ruglo, as I said, leading the Gentleman's Trophy. The top 3 in this race, all from the Pro Cup, naturally. As we come through the right-hander down at the bottom of the crest, waiting to see what happens with this smoking BMW. They're struggling to get away. There's the Caca Bueno run BMW in 6th position. Number 13 there is Frank Steppler. Look at this, it's a miracle. The car is up.
You know, it would have been a little bit easier if the driver of the pickup truck had actually kept all 4 wheels on the tarmac and then let the crane extend out. But maybe where the car was, he couldn't do that. So bit by bit, this very valuable piece of Munich engineering is being lowered onto the back of the flatbed truck. And let's hope it goes down gently.
I think for the main race later on, we'll get the... Gently does it.
Yes.
We'll get the recovery truck driver in here, and you can go and drive the recovery truck. How does that? You do a better job, would you?
I wouldn't claim that at all. Others may, but I certainly wouldn't.
So the car is on the truck, and hopefully that means we'll get racing back underway soon. The pit stop window is due to open very soon indeed. The legs come up, and what looked like a short job took, well, 15 minutes really.
Well,
we've had 15 minutes behind the safety car, haven't we? So
we were on the 9th lap. The safety car was deployed at the end of the 3rd, the beginning of the 4th lap. So over half this race now has been run under safety car conditions, and there you can see Sebastien Loeb is getting ready, as is
Andy Zuber.
Andy Zuber also. So Zuber probably is going to be that car, the Parisi Zuber car, will be the first of the two Sebastien Loeb Racing McLarens that will come into the pits.
There is the Alvaro Parent McLaren running in 2nd position at the moment, and this will be a real frustration for the drivers as well, because they'll have done their stint with maybe 3-4 laps of racing. Not why they come here on a Sunday afternoon.
A minute and a half to go before the pit lane opens. I mean, that's not what we'd hope to see, but due to circumstances outside of the control of the teams, clearing that BMW has taken much longer than we had anticipated, and that's going to have an impact on the strategy. And it looks like the Sebastien Loeb team are planning to make early pit stops for both their cars. I'm not sure why they'd want to bring in Alvaro Parent early, since he is, in my view, in a strong position and in a position to gain something by staying out until the latest possible moment. In the case of Mike Parisi and Andrea Zuber, that's a different case. They're down in 9th place, so there's nothing to be lost in reality for them to make an early stop, get out of sequence with everybody else. But well, it looks like Sebastien Loeb is thinking he's going to do a driver change very early as well.
You'd think the likes of Vanthor, Parisi and Stippler would be the ones who are going to take the gamble and take the pit, because okay, they might lose some track position but initially, but they'll have some clear air to work in.
Safety car in this lap.
Safety car will be in this lap, so racing will be back underway, which will be very entertaining, thankfully. It'll make a change.
The safety car will actually come in after the pit lane opens.
Yeah.
So will there be a chain of cars following the safety car into the pit lane, or will who's going to say it looks like the two McLaren drivers are all set? Whether they intend to or not, I don't know. But René Rast, in my view, will be kept out for a further 8 or 9 minutes before they hand over to Nicky Meyer-Menhoff, and in that process, I expect Audi will expect René Rast to go and get on with the program and pull the gap, particularly if that McLaren in 2nd place does stop. Now the pit lane window is open.
Rast has got on with the program already, hasn't he? He's already at full racing speed. That's caught out Caca Bueno more than anyone in 6th position. He's dropped back quite a way from Maximilian Buch behind him. So we're green. The pit stop window is open. Are we going to see anyone have a dive in? Yes, we are. So in comes Dominic Baumann, Maximilian Buch, Caca Bueno as well, and as we thought, Laurens Vanthor. This is going to be very, very interesting tactically as the cars all rumble past our commentary box here. But René Rast it is who leads the way. It's going to get busy down in the pit lane as well, with everyone pitting at the same time. In comes Bueno. This is Michele Rugolo going past, or well, battling with Sergio Jimenez, getting the cutback. And Rugolo is about to go past. So the Gentleman Trophy car, which is in the hands of Michele Rugolo, is doing very well. There you can see the pit stop, as we suspected, for Mike Parisi to hand over to Andy Zuber. Here comes the Mercedes. And that's good news in general for the Sebastien Loeb team, because they were a lot further behind.
3 positions behind Maximilian Buch at that point. It
hasn't worked out for the Audis, though, as they come out the pits. Look, the Audi is...
No, don't do that. That's a penalty. You'll be definitely... I mean, to come out of the pit lane like that and just suddenly flick across. That Edward Sandstrom, I suspect, will get a penalty, be it a drive-through penalty.
But he's going to try and go past on the inside on the run-up into turn 2. Got a few wheels on the grass, keeps it in there, and goes past Andy Zuber. He'll now have to make as much progress as possible, because that looked fairly clear-cut, that little cut of the white line on pit lane exit.
Yeah, but that was a schoolboy error. Simply Edward Sandstrom just too anxious to get the momentum and pull out past. And he realised he'd made the mistake and he had to get out of it. But that will not have gone unmissed by... Let's look at it again. We've got the Mercedes, McLaren, then Edward Sandstrom. Wait, he's actually under the rear wing of the McLaren. He just simply...
And then at this point he goes, oh no, and pulls back in. Look, there he goes. He slams on the wheel and goes, oh, I better. No one will notice. But I think they might.
We've noticed that one, I think. And so it'll be a matter of time to see whether that has been a penalty applied or not, as René Rast continues to open the gap. It was 1.7 seconds at the end of the restart of this race. Wait to see what it'll be when they come across. Wave yellow flags again. Is that a car?
There's a car
stopped at the pit lane exit.
Is that the Seyfarth Mercedes? Is that Chanduk and Jan Seyfarth? So they're not going to be coming out of the pit lane for too long. What's that? He's pulled over.
There's an issue, a mechanical issue of some description. The door, the gull wing door is open.
Andreas Simonsen we saw making a pit stop as well, so it'll be interesting to see where he comes out. But René Rast has already built up 1.7 seconds over Alvaro Parent. Here's Sergio Jimenez in the pits.
I think that 1.7 second gap actually is slightly less. Because I think Alvaro Parent and the 4 on the 12th lap, very close. And is that an unsafe release, or will that be considered just about get away with?
Let's see where they come out. Simonsen is going to come out then behind that BMW. That's not good news for him. Here comes the attack from Stephane Ortelli, trying to go past Andres Zuber. And Ortelli goes through, does he? No. Zuber's holding on the outside line, a little bit of contact, but Zuber surely won't be able to hold the outside all the way around turn 2. He'll give it a go though, but he's not going to manage it, and Ortelli moves through.
Now Ortelli was side by side with the McLaren as they came down to turn 2, and Zuber had really no option but to just concede the ground that Ortelli was trying to muscle himself into, and he worked. It worked for Stephane Ortelli. A good driver in turn 1 gave him that position, and he was able to hold it.
So down into turn 3 they come. That promotes Ortelli up into well, it's difficult to make out what I think will ultimately be about 7th position, as René Rast continues to lead. Stefan Rosina has stayed out there as well. Those top 3 are the only front runners to have stayed out. 4th position at the moment is Marc Basseng, who hasn't come into the pits either. As we look at Sebastien Loeb waiting to take over.
Yeah, the gap between Parent and Rast is actually, I thought, the idea off track, and but the gap between 1st and 2nd is now down to 1.4 seconds. And what a mess he's making getting back onto the racetrack.
Yep, Carlos Vieira pulling back onto the circuit after a little moment. Let's have a look.
This is turn 6.
Whoa, there he goes.
I mean, we've seen a couple of Karen Chanduk got it all wrong there in practice, and he went way off to the left. We never really found him since. Whereas
Vieira actually spun there in free practice 2 yesterday, so he's struggling with that corner.
I mean, he's struggling all. I mean, ideally, you don't want to be on the grass trying to get 560 horsepower through your rear wheels.
The gap closed on that last lap for the lead of the race. Alvaro Parent took 0.3 of a second out of René Rast up at the front, so the gap is just 1.4 seconds. This is going to be very interesting indeed. Andreas Simonsen, now he's in the car, has just set the fastest middle sector of anyone in the number 2 HTP Gravity Charouz Mercedes. We go on board with Parent then. Up through the gears towards turn 9.
Just watch the hands of Parent. Notice that the McLaren at different times could be a very nervous, twitchy car, but seemingly now with full temperature into the tyres, the balance is coming towards the driver's advantage, and pushing very hard, working a big drop off coming out of the chicane just after turn 2.
Yep, down into the right-hander. That will be, I think, Stephane Ortelli who's kicked up the dirt there on the outside of the Blancpain chicane. But here's the gap at the front. René Rast pulls away in the middle sector. Parent is quicker in the 1st sector. We'll see what it's like in the 3rd sector. When are they going to come in to the pit lane? Now, in comes Alvaro Parent to hand over to Sebastien Loeb. Loeb will take over and hope to be quick enough out of the blocks that he'll be able to get the jump on the WRT squad. On board we go then with Parent as he waits, looks for his mechanic. There you can see him on the right-hand side, waving him in.
What they're going to be looking for is a ultra slick pit stop. So Alvaro Perent gets out, the slightly shorter but stocky Sebastien Loeb gets in. All those lessons learned from the opening rounds where Loeb came in for his pit stop to hand to Perent. He undid the seat belts before he got to a stop. Those lessons well learned, and that well-oiled machine that is Sebastien Loeb Racing car off the jacks. There she goes. Good stop, I would say.
Looked pretty decent, didn't it? Away goes Sebastien Loeb now at the wheel of that McLaren, and he's got plenty of track space in front of him, and by the looks of it, plenty of track space behind him, because Maximilian Buch, the Alan Day now Mercedes, is well behind.
So he's going to come in 6th place, I would say, 7th place.
Yep, there's Alvaro Perent having just got out the car. So we'll wait and see. So that means that Day and Buch are potentially into a net 3rd position, depending what happens when Stefan Racina pits. But I would say that that number 1 Mercedes will be in 3rd position come the end of this race. And that's good news for Sandstrom and Stippler as well, because they're 4th, which would do them good for the championship, in which they lie 2nd. But at the same time, we may well see a drive-through penalty for them. Into the pits this time will come René Rast to hand over to Nicky Meyer-Melnoff. Then we'll see which pit crew has the advantage. Through the long right-hander at 14.
It's just got to be very careful. The pit lane, the blend line, you see a number of drivers were cutting that coming into the pits during practice and qualifying, getting penalties for it, but no problem whatsoever for René Rast, too professional to make that fundamental mistake. And there we will see the exchange. Nicky Meyer-Melnoff preparing.
He's got a new helmet.
He's got a new helmet.
It used to be green.
It was green. Maybe he's decided he's not a green driver anymore.
No, absolutely. Into the pits he comes then. René Rast up on the jacks. Wheels get changed.
Of course, Melnoff is a taller driver than René Rast, so they've got a seat filler to enable the driver change. So Melnoff gets into the cockpit as we look and see.
Sebastien Loeb coming around turn 13 then. René Rast is going to drop down. That's been a good stop from the WRT guys, and they're right at the end of the pit lane as well. So Nicky Meyer-Melnoff is going to comfortably rejoin in the lead of the race, but Sebastien Loeb will be up to speed by now and will be closing in on Meyer-Melnoff before too long, I think. We'll see what kind of pace Meyer-Melnoff can find, though. Out of the pits here comes the the Lamborghini of Peter Cox, and he has lost out. He's lost 2 positions and he's now down to 5th place. That car came into the pits in 3rd. It's come out of the pits in 5th.
Slightly the pit lane edge.
But it will be 4th, apologies, because a drive-through penalty has just been awarded to the Audi in front of it, car number 13.
I was going to say what's going to happen, but taking them a little bit of time to come to the judgment that that move by Sandstrom coming out of the pit lane when he came across the pit lane exit line way before he'd even exited the pit lane. So he's going to be penalised for that. But the pit lane exit is actually slightly difficult because the way it blends into it's on the approach line to turn 1, and that's partly, I think Peter Cox got slightly compromised. 2 cars ahead of him now were the 2 cars that were looking to come onto the racing line, and that's where some of that mild contact also was coming from.
There is Peter Cox in the red Lamborghini, but there's our race leader, Nicky Meyer-Melnoff. We'll have to monitor the gaps then between the top 3 for the next few moments, really. For the next few laps to see what progresses as we go on board with Peter Cox in 5th place now. And John, they crest the hill down into this left-hander.
I mean, getting your braking right here is important. It's a slow corner. It's a corner that's easily overrun, and Peter Cox marginally did that on the braking, trying to regain those positions that he lost effectively because he was exiting the pits as the 2 cars ahead of him were coming at racing speed, and they just really sort of boxed him in and almost refused to let him get onto the racetrack. So down into turn 13, nothing really between the 2 cars ahead in terms of straight line performance. Peter Cox taking a slightly tighter line, holding that line, trying to pick up grip as the Audi going into the base. It is, so he's in effect gained one of those positions through a pit stop.
Yep, up into 4th place then goes Peter Cox in the Lamborghini. Purple first sector on that last lap for Stephane Ortelli. as Sandstrom
So this
serves
is
his drive-through penalty.
Yeah. Doing it at the earliest possible moment, and just make sure on the exit he doesn't cross the white line again. I mean, it's an obvious thing to say, but it can happen. You know, in your haste to get back out, you can make those fundamental errors.
Gap at the front, 1.4 seconds between Niki Meyer-Melnhof and Sebastien Loeb. We saw these two go head-to-head in Nogaro at the first race of the season. And we've got a car off at turn 9. I think that's the second safeart, isn't it? So that's an unfortunate moment for Jensi Michael.
Let's hope this is not another safety car, because it's in
enough time.
It is in a difficult position, because the car, if a car goes off coming through turn 9, that is going to be the precise bit of the racetrack that it will go, the direction the car will go.
Yep.
So I would not be surprised if we see another car, unless that can be restarted and removed under the driver's control there, or some of the marshals, the driver out of the car. I fear we may see another safety car.
Yeah, because if a car goes off there like Stephane Ortelli did last year, then oh, there's Racina. He's chilling.
Mr. Racina, put it away, please.
One for John Watson by the sounds of it. You enjoyed that. And Peter Cox's daughter was hanging out with them as well by the looks of things. So as they come down into the final corner of the race, we're back up on the focus on the race lead, and Niki Meyer-Melnhof is now right under pressure from Sebastien Loeb. If these two start battling hard, Alan Day might start to close in as well. But we saw Niki defending hard here last year, but look at the advantage that Loeb has got. He's got the slipstream. Meyer-Melnhof needs to cover the inside line. He's not going to. Sebastien Loeb is going to take the lead of the race here. The McLaren slides through on the inside, and Sebastien Loeb leads.
Yeah, good planned move by Sebastien Loeb. Looked a little bit tentative from both drivers. Weren't quite sure whether Loeb was going to take the line up the inside, and sort of both of them danced around the head of a pin until it was clear that Loeb had the momentum and he was going to take the position away from Meyer-Melnhof. And just simply the pace of the McLaren down the pit straight, good drive off turn 13 contributed to that. And now Sebastien Loeb in the lead of a race. We haven't said that for quite a while.
There's Alvaro Parent looking pretty happy with how things have transpired up at the front, because this will give them 8 points and pole position for tomorrow's, for the main race coming up later on today. 2 races in one day. Great value for the spectators here. 20 minutes to go now here at the Slovakia ring. Sebastien Loeb leads in that McLaren. Second place is number 12, Niki Meyer-Melnhof in the WRT Audi. Third place is Alan Day. And I will now be curious to see if Alan Day can start to close in on the Audi in front as well, because on that last lap, Day was a second quicker than Meyer-Melnhof.
Yeah, that would have been simply because of the overtake into turn 1. And there would have been, well, we see the Mercedes being pulled away. There is a yellow flag at that station. But in going into turn 1, Meyer-Melnhof lost momentum. He had to concede the ground to Sebastien Loeb, and that's why he lost time. He lost that 1 second.
There's the second Sebastien Loeb Racing McLaren up into 6th place in the hands of Andreas Zuber. And as they come through turn 13 and out onto the start-finish straight again, Sebastien Loeb beginning to stretch his legs a little bit now. The gap at the front is 0.8 of a second. The gap from second to third is 1.3 seconds. On that last lap, Alan Day was 1.3 seconds quicker than Meyer-Melnhof in front. So things could all start to concertina up behind Niki in a moment. And here's a replay of the overtake. It looked fairly straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much classic. You get the slipstream. The main thing is you get alongside the car you're overtaking, and then by being on the inside of the racetrack, was able to control the corner. And Niki Meyer-Melnhof really in new position. Once he let Loeb get alongside, he didn't do anything to try to be aggressive in his defence. He just allowed Loeb to get up the inside, and once he was at that point at the apex of the corner, it was all over. The lead had changed from Audi to McLaren.
So Alvaro Parent will be hoping that Loeb will be starting the main race later on today from pole position. That's how things are looking at the moment. brakes come on as they come through turn 6. Alan Day, will he be closing in on Meermanhoff for second position? Peter Cox is in 4th place. Stephane Ortelli in the championship leading Audi is in 5th position. Zuber in 10th, and then in 7th place and leading the Pro-Am class is Harry Procek, with Andreas Simpson behind him.
But I tell you, Peter Cox is driving the wheels off his Lamborghini, trying to regain the ground that he lost. And he's trying to run down Alan Day. He's only 0.8 of a second behind him. Alan Day a further 1.3 seconds behind second place Nicky Meyer-Melnhof in the Audi. And their lap times are all pretty much. Meyer-Melnhof maybe the slightly quicker of those 3 cars by a couple of tenths of a second a lap. Sort of regaining. I hate seeing a car stuck like that. That is a disaster. Move it now. But once Meyer-Melnhof is getting his momentum back up.
And look at this, what happened to Loeb? So, or what did Meyer-Melnhof do right? Because Meyer-Melnhof has closed right back in for the lead of the race. I wonder if there was a kerfuffle or something somewhere, because Meyer-Melnhof took 0.3 of a second out of him in both sectors 1 and 2.
Well, I would assume that there's something, Sebastien Loeb has made an error somewhere, because there's no way in one lap that the gap between 1st and 2nd, and it's not the gap between 1st and 4th, would be run down in the space of half a lap. So something has gone on circuit. I mean, it's easy, for example, coming over the hill down into turn 10, just to overrun. You're trying to consolidate your lead, and you make one small error, and that just means that Nicky Meyer-Melnhof gains an advantage, but also gains the psychological advantage, knowing that I am applying pressure to this. What's that all about?
That's a bit of extra branding for Blancpain.
I'll tell you what, I don't know if he's being paid for that, but certainly it's getting the message across.
Carlos Vieira with his presumably second off of the day so far, and that's not going to do the cooling on that Audi any good, as we see also car 29 Jensi Michael has rejoined the race after his little off down at turn 9. Let's see if this comes off at the
the bodywork also, you can see the front splitter has become detached from the main bodywork of the car, so wherever he has gone off and he's picked up.
Look at this, here comes Nicky Meyer-Melnhof for the lead of the race, challenging Sebastien Loeb, and he's got the inside line as he coming into 9, not quite close enough, but Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, now he's got into the groove, he is absolutely on it. Car 14, which is Carlos Vieira, is also under investigation for not respecting blue flags, but we thought Loeb would begin to pull away, but sorry, yellow flags, not blue flags, but we thought Loeb would pull away, but now Meyer-Melnhof is right with him, and everyone else is coming too.
Well, all it could be is either a mistake from Sebastien Loeb, or there's a mechanical issue with the McLaren that suddenly has resurrected its head, and now he is under pressure. First of all from Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, now from the Mercedes. Alan Day. No, not close enough to do it this time.
And that will compromise him throughout the whole of the final corner. Unfortunately for Nicky, he needs to be careful here, because he's got a lot of cars right out behind him as well as they come across the line. Sebastien Loeb's lap times are in the 5.7, so I think Meyer-Melnhof has actually just picked up the speed, because Meyer-Melnhof is now lapping quicker than he was when he first came out the pits on fresh tyres. So I'd say that it's Meyer-Melnhof closing in, and Alvaro Parente is saying that there's no problem with the car apparently, so it's just a pace issue. Meyer-Melnhof has got into the groove.
Well, it's strange that he could take so much time in 1/2 of a lap over the lead car, and all I can assume is that maybe the pace has been picked up by the Audi. But also, I do still think that somewhere in the lap that Sebastien Loeb lost time, maybe just under braking, maybe just being a little bit wide on the exit of a corner. But you can see the battle for 3rd place. Peter Cox working over the back of Alan Day as best he can. Loeb is sort of consolidating and getting a bit of clear air again. That moment of danger momentarily has passed. But Stephane Ortelli also joining in this 5-way battle. And he's going to make Peter Cox's life uncomfortable, as Peter Cox is trying to find a way past the very difficult to overtake Mercedes with Alan Day.
So who is going to be the first man to try and make a manoeuvre here? It looks to me, well, Ortelli's the man with least to lose, isn't he?
But Ortelli's the man I think is going to be the most likely to make a move. As we see Andreas Zuber now falling back from the battle for this top 5 positions.
Here's the look from Ortelli coming down into 10, not close enough. And Peter Cox will cover that every day of the week. Up at the front, Loeb extended his advantage by 0.2 in Sector 1, but in Sector 2, they have matched each other, Loeb and Meyer-Melnhof. We'll see what happens in Sector 3. But with less than 13 minutes to go, these are our top 5 all in one camera shot here in the FIA GT Series. It's only the qualifying race which will decide the grid for the main race this afternoon. But it's really anyone's guess.
Whatever it was, we're still uncertain. We haven't had any clarification from the pit. They're saying nothing wrong with the car, therefore indicates that there was something that had happened within what is the cockpit of the car, but it's been resolved. Sebastien Loeb has gained, well, he's up to 0.8 of a second, which sounds very little in terms of time, but compared to 3 laps ago, it's breathing space.
I wonder if Peter Charouz is going to come into play here, because he's in the number 3 HDP Mercedes that these guys are about to lap. He's just come through the chicane, and these guys are coming through the chicane now, so that might be something that will rear its head in a few moments' time.
Watch Ortelli looking to go down the inside, but he's always, when he runs wide, he actually made a small error, been trying to look for the gap, trying to distract Peter Cox. There's the car you're talking about that's going to come into play. He's still about 5 seconds ahead, 3-4 seconds now. Sebastien Loeb, and that will also be not passing the car, but where you pass is the key.
Yeah, absolutely. Ortelli and Cox went side by side into the first corner at the start of the main race in Zolder back in April. Here's the look from Alan Day. Is he going to force his way through? He's got enough of an overlap, and Day will surely move up into second place. A bump between them. Meyer Malnoff is pushed out off the circuit, and he goes from 2nd to 5th. Well, difficult really to see whether that was unnecessary from Day or whether he left Meyer Malnoff enough room. But now Nicky is down into 5th place, and you can imagine the rage inside the cockpit now. There's the Vincent Voss team manager watching on, but Alan Day is up into 2nd place, but he needs to be careful because right behind him now is the red Lamborghini of Peter Cox. This is all good news for Loeb.
Indeed, Sebastien Loeb's had that pressure removed. We'll wait to see what the time is. It was 0.8 of a second, but then that's all changed with the contact between the Mercedes and the 2nd place Audi. Let's have a look at it again.
It's a good move initially.
It's a good move.
8.
In fairness, it's a move that he dives down the inside. He gets the Mercedes. At that point, he's only, well, no further than the driver's door, but is increasing the position. The bump actually occurs more on the exit, at which point the 2 cars are pretty much side by side. Whether that's deemed an avoidable incident, whether there's a penalty will be applied for that, certainly it's going to be looked at. Car 14 under investigation. That's nothing to worry about. So whether Alan Day will receive a penalty or whether that will be just seen as a racing incident, difficult to call it, because I think initially Malnoff had the higher ground, but by the time they got to the exit they were side by side.
Well, the incident is now under investigation. Peter Charouz has moved out of the way of the leading pack, which is good to see. But the move itself is, there's no argument with, would you say? It's the bump on the exit that's the only dodgy thing.
Yeah, and the bump will be determined when the stewards look at the replays, whether that was a bump that was avoidable or whether it was a bump that was intentional or whether it was unavoidable. Yeah, whichever way around, they'll have to look at it and see. In my view, Alan Day, at the point where the contact had taken place, was alongside and therefore on the inside for turn 11, so therefore I think he'll get away with it.
Into the left-hander at turn 9. Nicky Malnoff dropping back perhaps now a little bit as well after that has maybe rattled his cage just a tad. As they come through the left-hander. Big sideways moment for Ortelli, but he keeps it all together. Now what can Alan Day do in terms of pace compared to Sebastien Loeb? That last lap, Loeb was 0.7 of a second quicker. Obviously, there was the overtake in there as well. So this lap will give us a little more of an accurate portrayal of the pace between the two of them up at the front. There's some more shots of Racina. There's Peter Cox's daughter watching on. He's in 3rd place at the moment. And he could be in 2nd place before too long, because the red Lamborghini is very close to the Mercedes in front as they come down the start straight.
Peter Cox was compromised when he was leaving the pit lane exit, and he's really suffered from that. Subsequently, now he's getting an opportunity to stretch the legs of the Lamborghini and try and make a run. He's currently in 3rd place, looking to try and get ahead of the Mercedes. That was one of the 2 cars that did compromise him on that moment.
Peter Cox and Stefan Racina. This is only their second meeting in FIA GT this season. The one they did do, they finished second in the qualifying race and won the main race. It's all getting interesting behind because Nicky Mermanov has slid off the circuit at the Blancpain chicane. Here comes the attack from Andy Zuber around the outside. Zuber goes through up into 5th place, and now Mermanov will have Harry Procek behind to deal with, and Procek and Simonsen in the Lamborghini and the Mercedes are also battling over the lead of the Pro-Am class, which is important stuff for them. So there's plenty of action still going on. The BMWs from Team Brazil. Whoa, Harry Procek, is he heading towards the gravel there? No, keeps it all together, but Simonsen is going to get through, is he? He'll have the outside line for the next corner, though. And Harry Procek just about holds on to the lead of Pro-Am. Here comes Simonsen. A little bit of a touch. Simonsen through into the lead of Pro-Am, up into 7th place.
Yeah, that was all a bit sort of messy. The two drivers really decided they're going to take one another out, or as much as try to get past. But in this case, Simonsen and the Mercedes got away with it, but it wasn't pretty. All started off when Harry Procek got a big tank snapper. You wait and see. Here's the Lamborghini. Here the back end goes out. Look, one way, then back the other way. And that whole momentum lost. And there's the Mercedes up the inside, going through this very long turn 6. But the Lamborghini then is on the inside for 7, coming down to 8, until the Mercedes dives up almost into invisible. There's not barely much contact there. That might be considered to be an avoidable incident. We wait to see. A lot of incidents going on, and these closing minutes.
So back we go to the battle for 2nd place. The silver and blue Mercedes, the one without the bonnet, is Alan Day. Right up behind him, though, is Peter Cox. The gap is just half a second between them as they cross the line. The Mercedes is decent in a straight line, though. That's where the Lambo is struggling at the moment. Then it's Stephane Ortelli, championship leader, is in 4th position. I think Ortelli will be relatively happy to settle down there, because championship-wise it'll give him a good starting position for the race this afternoon.
Yeah, they'll be in the 3rd row of the grid, and assuming we have an hour race without too much incident, without too many safety car incidents, that gives them an opportunity to do some good work and try to consolidate their championship lead.
It's actually Stephane Ortelli who's closer to Peter Cox than Cox is today at the moment, in the 1st sector anyway. Peter Cox has had a very slow 1st sector. There's Laurens Vanthoor on the right, teammate of Stephane Ortelli. And there's the crowd watching on this entertaining 1st race of the day for the FIA GT Series. The 2nd race is coming up this afternoon as Loeb does a bit of lappery, and a drive-through penalty for Alan Day for causing contact with Nicky Mermanov. Now, what do we think of that?
Well, I think the contact came at the exit of the corner, and I thought the two cars were side by side, and I felt at that stage it was probably a racing incident, but clearly the race stewards have seen it, looked at it maybe from other angles, and they've had a different view of it. I mean, if that's going to get a penalty, then you can be assured that what we saw with Harry Procek a minute ago will also, because that was much more of a contact before the two cars were side by side.
So there is the Alan Day car, and a real shame for them. It'll be interesting to hear perhaps from Maximilian Buch, his teammate, on to what his opinion of that will be. That will promote Peter Cox then up into 2nd position, and there's is that smoke from the Lamborghini, or is that just a spin?
Well, I think it's a smoke, because the car did spin, but he's got the car turned round. But if you notice that the Lamborghini, a lap ago, look at the rubber he lays on, the back of the car was all over the place coming up into turn 6, and I suspect it's the legacy of that problem that's caught him out. In fact, it's not a mechanical, it's a driver issue.
Somewhere out there on the circuit, Stephane Ortelli is now up into 3rd place. He's got past Peter Cox. Here they come down into turn 1. Ortelli is into 3rd. Cox is down to 4th. That will change when they come into the when Alan Day has his drive-through penalty. But somewhere out there, Stephane Ortelli has made the move and is up into what will become 2nd position.
Irreplaceable. I mean, the guy never knows. He doesn't give up. So Stephane Ortelli's used all the advantages that have been offered to him, but he's made them for himself. Getting past Peter Cox will not have been easy. We didn't get to see that opportunity, but hopefully maybe on replay. But there is his teammate, Laurens Vanthoor. They'll feel this is somewhat justice, having had to start all the way down on the 5th row of the grid as a consequence of a issue in the qualifying where they were outside of their time sequence. But Stephane Ortelli has battled, as he always does.
Yep.
Always does.
Always pulls it out of the bag, eventually does Ortelli. What have we got here? Squabbles going on between Wolfgang Reip and Philippe Salaquada. Ripe is 12th overall and 2nd in class. Salaquada 13th overall and 3rd in class at the moment. So Wolfgang will be very happy with how this is progressing, him and Alex Buncombe in that car. This is the rear view from that JRN Nissan. As they come through the left at RJN Nissan, I should say, getting all my letters in the wrong order. This is Andreas Simonsen now behind Nicky Meyer-Melnoff in the battle over 6th position. Meyer-Melnoff in the 12 Audi, who was battling for the lead of this race with Sebastien Loeb, let us not forget. He's now trying to fend off the Pro-Am leader, Andreas Simonsen. To the right-hander at 13. Meyer-Melnoff goes in quite early. Simonsen trying to get an inside line as they come all the way around 13 and then out through the left-hand kink at 14. 2 minutes to go, so I think Loeb has just started the penultimate lap of the race. I just wonder for Simonsen, he also had that contact with Eric Project, and to me that was a slightly more aggressive contact, so we don't know whether he's going to receive any penalty or not. Well, almost running into the back of Nicky Meyer-Melnoff as they go into turn 1. Melnoff losing ground and speed, and going to probably lose another position to Simonsen as they come up over the hill. Simonsen still in the slipstream of the Audi as they come through turn 2. The exit of 2 through the Blancpain chicane. Nothing doing just yet for Simonsen, whose bodywork continues to get more and more detached from the car. They're going to have quite a bit of repair work to do, the HDP squad, in this lunch break before the main race later on. But Nick will be relatively happy with 6th place, but having been challenging for the lead, it's not good enough. It's what could have been. Yeah, that's the issue. So Alain Day got the penalty for the contact. Nicky Meyer-Melnoff will feel that was justification, but it doesn't make it any easier. Let's have a look and see what happened again. This is the replay. He gets the move done. I don't think there's any significant contact at this point. There. The contact comes when they're side by side there. Now, whether that was deemed to be deliberate, and there's still, when the contact was made, it seemed to me there was still space for Nicky further over to the right-hand side. Well, it's a harsh decision, I think it's fair to say. I think the issue is, was that contact deliberate, premeditated, or was it just a racing incident? And we have seen squabbles. We have seen Alain Day involved in incidents back at Nogaro earlier on this year. He and Sergei Afanasiev were both fairly vociferous. As into the pits now for the drive-through penalty comes number 1, Alain Day. That means Sebastien Loeb comes across the line then to continue in the lead of the race, but Ortelli is up into 2nd position. Peter Cox is up into 3rd. Andy Zuber will cross the line into 4th place. 5th now will be Meyer-Melnoff. Red flag being held out to Alain Day. I don't know what that's about, but he's allowed to get on his way. So don't really know what that was about, but he's coming out now in 11th position, I believe, behind Edward Sandstrom. And sorry, 10th position I think it will be, behind Edward Sandstrom and ahead of Albert von Turnen Taxis. But there's our race leader, Sebastien Loeb, made possible really by the phenomenal start from Alvaro Parent, from 8th to 2nd on the run down into turn 1. Really impressive stuff from the Portuguese driver. Loeb's had to deal with the pressure as well, and eventually, once he's had some free air, he's knuckled down and has been lapping very similarly to Ortelli and Cox. Interesting to hear as well, when John makes it down to Parc Fermé, how Ortelli got past Peter Cox. But Sebastien Loeb, his difficult season looks like it might be improving just a little bit here. They won, of course, the first race of the season, the qualifying race in Nogaro, but since then they finished 12th in the championship race, 17th and 13th in Zolder, and a retirement and 7th in Zandvoort. It's been a difficult season. It's not because of the pace, just things haven't gone well for the French squad. Contact here and there, mechanical problems here and there, and Alvaro Parent unwilling to celebrate until Loeb finally crosses the line, which he's about to do. Through the right-hander He's yet to win a main race here in FIA GT. That may come this afternoon, but it's the second qualifying race win of the season in the 4th round of the championship here at the Slovakia ring for Sebastien Loeb and Alvaro Parent. Across the line comes Stephane Ortelli to take 2nd place, just ahead of Peter Cox. Good battle between those two throughout the race. And Andy Zuber coming across the line in 4th place. That's good news for the Sebastien Loeb Racing McLaren team. Merman off 5th, Andreas Simonsen 6th, Alain Coder 7th for the BMW. There's going to be a lot of frustration, I think, there, because they started this race in 4th position, and after a 5th and 6th in Zandvoort last time out, I think they'd have been hoping for a little more on a circuit that should suit their car. Here comes the car of Peter Charouz across the line. Andreas Simonsen has won the Pro-Am class. Looks as though it's going to be the AF Corsa Ferrari of Claudio Stanišević that's going to win the Gentleman's Trophy class. In fact, it is, because the other guys have already finished. Matthias Stump, a quiet drive from him. The pace that Lamborghini has had so far this weekend, you would have thought they'd have been able to fight a little bit harder. But there's Sebastien Loeb, arm out, waving to the crowd after taking victory here in the Slovakia ring. As far as the championship is concerned, it's great news for Stephane Ortelli and Laurens Vanthoor. They extend their lead up at the top over Stippler and Sandstrom, who looked to be in a stronger position before that. I mean, I hate to say it, but rookie error from Edward Sandstrom crossing the white line on pit exit. I think he'll be so frustrated with himself about that, because that's allowed Ortelli and Vanthoor to extend their lead. Plus, Maximilian Buch and Alan Day relegated down to 10th position from 2nd after what I perceived to be a very harsh penalty decision, but that's why I don't make the penalties. A long old lap, this Slovakia ring, 5.9 kilometres, the longest track we go to all season. It takes them over 2 minutes to do a lap at full pace. And it takes even longer to do at slowing down pace. Peter Cox and Stefan Racina with that 3rd position, I think, will satisfy them. And these drivers will be starting the main race later on. So Loeb will be starting from pole position, Ortelli alongside him on the front row, with Peter Cox and Andy Zuber on row 2. But it's such a long run down to turn 1 and such a wide run down to turn 1 that really anything can happen at the start. As we saw today, Parent 8th to 2nd, and I'm sure Sebastien will be all over his teammate. He'll attribute all congratulations to this victory to him, I'd imagine. Carlos Vieira, who had a few trips, he's lost some of his Blancpain advertisements that was there for a while. There's our Pro-Am winner, Andreas Simonsen, in the car. Sergei Afanasiev, the man helping him out of the car. And a great victory for them, about to be mowed down by Sebastien Loeb. Into the pits comes Loeb, and we'll be having a word with him in a few moments' time. Sebastien climbs out of the car after taking his 2nd race win of the season, but no main race victory just yet. Seems pretty happy though. And perhaps a victory they weren't really expecting. Qualified 3rd on the grid. It looked as though the pace was in the hands of the Audis. So there we can see Loeb.
Sebastien, yes. Congratulations. What's it like to be back on the winner's podium?
Yeah, very good. Very good start. It feels good. We've done a great job with Alvaro. He has done an incredible start from the 8th place to the 2nd place in the first corner, so that was incredible. And from that, we managed to keep the contact with the lead. Finally, in my stint, I was able to overtake the first one. So, starting from 8, we were not so happy yesterday. So now, winning the first qualifying race is good, and it's good to have this kind of feeling, because we were used since a few races not to be lucky. So now it seems to be over.
At one point, Sebastien, Nicky Meyer-Melnhof suddenly closed back up to you. We never saw why. Was there a reason?
Why?
The Audi in second place closed very back. What happened?
It was a yellow flag in the second sector, and I didn't want to do a good time there because I know we are not allowed to increase the time. So I was very careful in all the second sector, and then he was closing the gap. Then I had to push again in the third, not that he can overtake me. So yeah, it was a little moment like this, and from the end of the from the end of the yellow flag, we could push again, and it was okay.
Well, great to see you smiling. Always a happy Sebastien Loeb. Makes a big day. Well done. Alvaro, come in, Alvaro, quick. Alvaro, brilliant start. Second place in the turn one. Tell us how you did it.
No, it was definitely a much better start than in Zandvoort. You know, from 8th we weren't so happy this morning, but had a really good start. So managed to brake late into turn one and get into second place. Then the Audi was a little bit too fast. You know, Renault was going fast, and the Audis looked strong here again. I couldn't really catch him or really keep up. So. But anyway, then we did a good pit stop, and really good to be back and have back winning the qualifying round, and now we're really looking forward to the main race because we need a bit of luck, you know, after all is what's happening. It's incredible. So let's see if this next one goes a bit better.
Well done, Alvaro. You did what you were asked to do. You got the car in position. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So Alvaro Parent, after that brilliant start. There's Stephane Ortelli and Laurens Vanthoor, who fought their way to second place after they started down in 9th position on the grid. So the 9th place car finished second, the 8th place car finished first, the pole car finished in 5th position. So we had plenty of mix-up. So we saw Ortelli and Vanthoor chilling. Now John has disturbed them and he's talking to them.
Laurens, starting in 9th place is always going to be a difficult task, but you and your teammate did it, second position.
Yeah, we're really happy. We said, okay, we'll try to go in top 5 and then make a good championship race. But the main thing we wanted to do is to get good points for the championship and not make any mistakes. And unfortunately, I lost some time on the start because Mark, he pushed me for some while on the grass. I don't know why, but in the end, I think we did. You can be very happy. We are P2, taking good points for the championship and a good place to start in the championship race. So Stephane did a nice job. He had nothing to drink, so I'm really happy.
Well done. Well, Stephane, you're a little terrier, really, aren't you? You never give up. You just hang in there, and you got a great drive.
Okay, maybe we don't have the fastest car, but we have a very consistent and a good car made by WRT, and I just could push to the end. I think you can see that. But we have to congratulate Sebastien Loeb. He was just quicker than me today. I couldn't do anything at the end. I think I fight quite a lot to come back. Laurens did a big part of the job, and I tried to finish. But second place is not the best achievement, but it's something we couldn't believe at the beginning. So we are very pleased with the second place. And as I said, I'm pleased with the car. We are just not fast enough. And Loeb was just too fast.
Stephane, you did a great job. And Laurens, fantastic drive. We'll see you later in the afternoon.
So Stephane Ortelli and Laurens Vanthoor. A great performance from them. Peter Cox couldn't quite hang on to that second position. Let's hear what happened. He's with John.
Peter Cox, an eventful afternoon, especially after the pit stop. You really got boxed in on the exit of the pit lane.
Yes, I think our car didn't stop exactly in the right place, unfortunately, but our crew still did a fantastic job. And then I got a bit boxed in. I lost a little bit of time, and then I settled in, and I think the pace was okay. And I must say I tried as hard as I could with regarding my tire management. And just when I thought about it, I went a little bit wide, and I didn't want to close. Stephane was already alongside, and I didn't want to close the door for him. It was not fair. He was already alongside, so I made a mistake, and that was it. And I must say, big respect to Sebastien Loeb, because I think every one of us till now has been off track, what you expect from him, and I think he was the only one who stayed on track. So good job of him.
Well, good job, Peter. We'll see you later. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Peter Cox a little disappointed by the looks of things. There's Ortelli and Loeb having a chat. Those two are very good friends. Laurens Vanthoor hanging around as well. No podium for this race, obviously, because it's just the qualifying race that decides the grid for later on. Here's a look at the results then after 27 laps of racing, about 20 minutes of which was behind the safety car. Sebastien Loeb and Alvaro Parent took the victory, 4.7 seconds clear of Stephane Ortelli and Laurens Vanthoor in second place. The championship leaders extending their advantage. Peter Cox and Stefan Rossina finishing in third position, not too far behind, but as we just heard from Peter Cox, very disappointed that he made that mistake to drop them to third place. Andreas Simonsen won the Pro-Am class, that car in 16th place there. The Stadosvich Rugolo car won the Gentleman's Trophy, but there will be a lot of frustration for Karun Chandok and Jan Seyfarth. A problem exiting the pit lane meant that they finished down in 20th place, and that's where they'll start for the main race later on this afternoon. So Sebastien Loeb takes his second win of the season, and as a result that moves he and Alvaro Parent up into 6th position in the championship, but it's now a 16-point advantage at the top of the series for Ortelli and Vanthoor, with Sandstrom and Sippler in second. So the qualifying race was really not decided at the first corner, but hugely impacted at the first corner. The far right McLaren of Alvaro Parent started 8th on the grid, got a great getaway and managed to go around the outside to slot in second place. Michele Rugolo was unceremoniously nerfed off at the first corner. He managed to recover though to win the Gentleman Trophy class. This was the onboard from Parent. He got a fantastic start, pulled out to the outside of the circuit and was brave enough and skilled enough to hang on around the outside. Could easily have got a tap. The bonnet got lost off Maximilian Buch's car on the first lap, and then we had a very, very smoky BMW, Aman Ibrahim, retiring the car. Unfortunately, that also brought out the safety car. Whilst the car was removed, Aman out of the car and absolutely fine. Once the safety car came back in, though, René Rast continued to lead the way. And Alan Day was the man really on a push, trying to make up some positions. Green flag was waved once the safety car was back in, and Rast really had the speed over Alvaro Parent. In the pit stops there were a few close calls here and there, and as Alan Day came back out of the pits, there was the infringement from the 13 car of Edward Sandstrom. He could have finished second in the race had he not made that mistake. There is Carlos Vieira having one of his 3, I think, trips into the gravel today. Alvaro Parent handed over, as did René Rast, Nicky Meyer-Melnhof. Nicky Meyer-Melnhof came out with a comfortable advantage, but Loeb began to reel him in. Peter Cox couldn't quite stay ahead of Edward Sandstrom, but it didn't really matter because Sandstrom had been given a drive-through penalty anyway. There's René Rast. Phenomenal performance from him. Stefan Rossina chilling, shall we say, in the garage. Here was the move for the lead of the race. Sebastien Loeb found the inside line and slipped past Nicky Meyer-Melnhof into a lead that he would never lose. Meyer-Melnhof continued to fight and continued to follow him for quite a few laps, but ultimately the Frenchman was in control up at the front. A bit more sponsorship opportunities for Blancpain, and then we had this continuing battle for the lead of the race. Parent looking nervous as his teammate was racing, and then this moment, Alan Day taking second position. Nicky Meyer-Melnhof ran wide, but that was deemed a drive-through penalty for Alan Day, dropping him down to 10th position. Meyer-Melnhof also lost out to the second McLaren. Then this was where the Pro-Am victory was taken. Andreas Simonsen battling to get past Harry Procek, and then Harry Procek having a spin after perhaps contact with that BMW. There's the drive-through penalty I mentioned for Alan Day, dropping him all the way down into 10th place. But it was Sebastien Loeb and Alvaro Parent who took the race victory, and they will start on pole position for the main race here in the 4th round of the FIA GT Series. Join us for that later on this afternoon.